Order 203.
Let's all stand, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for blessing us as we come and do the business of the people. And we just pray that you'll give us guidance and direction. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Rich Jordan. Here. E.A. Smith.
Here.
Bill England. Keith Austin.
Here.
Harlow Desert.
Here.
Joe Bird. Sean Crittenden. Mike Dobbins. Here. Craig Targus. Wanda Hatfield. Dick Blay. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. Ani. Janice Taylor. Here. Victoria Vesquez.
Ani.
David Walkenstick.
Honey.
And Brian Warner. We do have a form.
Entertain approval of minutes for our October 15th meeting.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Management Resources, David Moore.
Good afternoon. I know you'll have our report. I'm here to answer any questions that I can. If I can't answer them, I'll get you the answer.
Questions?
Hey, David, can you, or maybe get with Lieutenant Jules and give the council a status of what's going on on social media? Like, we've been hearing all kinds of stuff. And we just want to just brief us on everything that's going on and maybe a written report or something.
I'd like to defer that to AG's office on that because of what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick?
Yes.
Hey, just before they come up, now, so natural resources, we contact you, right?
Yes, sir. For now.
Can we get your number?
Any other questions?
Will you send it to us?
Yeah.
Give it to Gail and she'll-
Okay. Yeah. I think she has it.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank
Done a
you.
good job.
Wait.
Whoop, just a second.
So when can we expect an update on the report?
What report on what
On
he asked?
happened? Who's in charge of natural resources?
I am right
Who we
now.
contact and
Me right now.
what's going on over there? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the dark of what's
Right.
going on.
Well, like I said, I'm going to defer that to the AG's office for now, but you can contact me. As of right now, I'm, over natural resources.
Hey, David, could you give everyone your contact here in the council?
Yeah, he told me to give it to Gail, and she'd get it out to y'all.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we were going to hear from Chrissy Demo, but we're back to sit down. And what can you tell us? Anything?
Well, no. Public meeting. The question was to get with Marshall Buell. I know what Marshall Buell's going to say, that he doesn't talk about investigations. We don't talk about employment issues. I know that we've had a couple of individual questions. I assume probably admin has too. I know that those have been answered to the extent that we can, but this is, as we always say, this is not something that we can talk about in a public meeting, and we don't talk about either employment or other type of investigations that are ongoing. So there is unfortunately nothing that I can provide today, and I think that Marshall Buell will say the same thing tomorrow probably when you ask him.
More than I knew.
Chrissy, I'd just like to comment on this. It's a shame that no one is contacting us to share anything with us, and what little we may know, we're reading it on social media. That's a slap at us.
I don't think there's anything to share.
Well, it's a slap at us that we got some type of an investigation going on and no one's telling us what it's involving, what it's about. These are our employees, and we want to be informed.
That is, there are rules and laws against releasing this information during the pendency of anything, and even if some action is taken. And there's nothing that we can give at this point. We can possibly answer questions, and the ones that we've gotten, we have answered. We have gotten some emails, we've gotten some phone calls, and we've attempted to answer those as thoroughly as we can, but there is not a report that can be shared at this point.
Yeah, even just a statement or something, along the facts, I think would be helpful. I think this is how rumors, get started, and then people just assume things and all, and the ball gets going. And I don't want to read anything about anything on Facebook that's significant and important. I'd really prefer an email saying, you know, this has happened, and you know, we won't be making a statement, but to let you know, I have not received an email like that.
And I don't think you will. I don't think that's how this goes. But if you have questions and want to contact our office or the Marshal Service, I mean, we're limited in the things that we can share, but we have answered questions. We have had other elected officials reach out, and we've attempted as much as we can to answer those questions. So we don't know if someone's not contacting us that they have questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Chrissy, I understand that if there's an investigation going on, you can't comment on until that investigation's through. I understand that. But I guess my question is this, and this isn't, again,
I'm not going to be able to answer the question.
You might when I
Okay.
ask it, because there's nothing illegal. I mean, there's nothing wrong with answering this question. It's because I've dealt with these kind of things too, because I've done a lot of investigations, and I understand, you know, the confidentiality of it until that investigation's over and what you can and can't release. I've dealt with that for 30 years. But could you say this is simply a Cherokee Nation investigation, or is there other agencies involved?
I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not trying to be coy. I don't know the answer to that.
Could you find out? Okay.
And
I
not something that we're going to share in a public meeting.
Sure. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you would, you know, if you wouldn't mind getting back to me, I would like to know if there's other agencies involved in this investigation, or if this is a Cherokee Nation only investigation. Thank you.
Any other questions? Harley?
Yeah, no, I understand, Tracy, what you're saying, so, but I do have another question for David. David, we had a health meeting just a while ago, and they got an award for breastfeeding friendly work site. Do we have a breastfeeding room in this complex?
I don't know if there's a room, but there's,
There is one in this restroom right over here that I know of.
outside down career services hallway.
Right across from registration in the ladies' restroom.
So it's in the restroom. That's my point. That's my point. You know,
It's attached to
I
it.
think you can ask some of these ladies in here, that I don't think they appreciate feeding their kids in a restroom. So, anyway, I just wanted to ask. I didn't know if we had one or not, because the reason I say that is I've had more compliments about our breastfeeding rooms and our new clinics that we built. And I just asked Dr. Grimm about the new clinic up there, and there are going to be some in there. There wasn't any design, but there are going to be some in there. But I think that just out of respect for some of the ladies that does that, and we should be encouraging that, so we should provide a room. So I didn't know if there's one here in the clinic or in this complex or not. But
Yeah, that's the only one I know about.
yeah, and I don't think, you know.
Well, Harley, let me speak to this.
Yes.
It is a separate room as you walk in. Has a rocking chair in there, and I'm not sure if the changing table is in there, but you're going to need to go to a sink to wash your hands after you do all that and everything.
I see.
As a nursing mother, it would have been a perfect setup for me. So that's just my experience.
Well, that sounds better.
I'm just
I'll say
saying.
that.
We're gonna run
Thank you.
into that with older buildings and stuff,
You didn't
you
beat
know,
around
not having the ability to design.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Any other questions?
Hey, Chrissy, can you, where's Chrissy? Chrissy.
Where's-
You know, like Councilwoman Shaw, you know, if there's a superintendent of schools and the state's coming in and doing an audit, the superintendent confides in the school board on those audits, and if there might be some findings that may have some deficiencies, he makes those board members aware of those things before they get out of hand and get into the community. And what we're facing here is this governing body is similar to a school board. And so what this council is asking is just a little bit of transparency of what's unraveling in these investigations. So we'll have something to tell our constituents. And if it has to be confidential, you tell us, and that remains confidential.
But you haven't asked. The people who have asked questions have have been given answers to the extent that we can answer them. We are not in a situation to prepare a report or an email. There is nothing that has been found. So this is an ongoing process.
So if
And-
we ask you after the meeting, you'll give us some answers on as far as where this investigation
To the extent I can. I'm the AG's office. I know some information. I've shared information to the extent I can. I know that AG Embry has. I'm sure that admin has. But we are not putting out information. The people who have requested it have received it.
Okay, well, we can ask your office and see how far you can go on that and see what you have available. Just, I don't know, it's definitely a subject that's being discussed a lot, and I'm just kind of in the dark on the whole thing, and I'll ask you some questions after the meeting and
Well,
hopefully.
I'm not on Facebook, so when people talk on Facebook, I don't respond there. I don't see those questions.
Well,
But when
these
people
are-
ask me questions, I give them answers.
I'm getting phone calls from employees, and so, yeah, I listen to those concerns, and they tell me kind of things that they've witnessed, but I'm trying to fill in the gaps here in all of this. I mean, there's just a lot of questions that I need answers to. So I'll ask you those after this meeting, and hopefully you can help me out of that.
I mean, if you have information that we need to know from employees, we need that as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Chrissy, you do see kind of the concerns here, right? Just, needing to know things, feeling left in the dark on different things, and, there's a few things going on recently that I felt in the dark on, that I felt other people knew about. So you can kind of sympathize with kind of how we feel sometimes. No?
Not when I'm not being asked a question. You're asking me to give you
Right.
information
Well-
that you haven't asked me for before.
Well, some of,
So it's not
right,
fair.
right. But like I said, this is not the only issue that, and I may be speaking for myself, but on some of these issues, it feels like a whole lot of people know stuff that, and I'm going to just speak for myself, that I don't. And that concerns me when different resolutions or legislations come down the pipe that you ask us to just approve. And some of them seem like to me was keeping us even more out of the loop, but it would look like you might see what some of us are saying, but if you don't, that's fine. So, thank you.
I would just respond that I don't think I've ever ignored a request from you for information.
Right.
And I've tried
Right.
to be forthcoming when we get asked questions. The AG's office is not in the business of sharing legal information with people. When we get asked questions, we attempt to answer them to the extent that we can. So my request is, if you are seeking information that you think we have and you want that from us, we have to have a request for that.
Can do.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Hey, I have a question. What, we wanted to ask this for a long time. What property do we have in Garland, Texas? It says we have grounds maintenance.
Yeah, I can't tell you
It's
exactly how
nothing.
many acres we have down there, but we do go down and mow it.
5.39, David.
5.39 acres
Yeah.
in Garland, Texas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
That's all it takes.
Thanks, sir. Done a good job. Real estate services.
Good afternoon. You have a copy of my report. If you have any questions, I will be happy to address them.
Questions for Ginger?
Yeah. Ginger, I've asked several times about the old Sam Hodder Clinic in Jay. And I had talked to the mayor just like 3 or 4 days ago because there was some questions about the deed. And he told me that he had asked the city attorney back then, he said the Cherokee Nation owned the deed. I said, well, I still think there's some questions about it because that's not how it's filed at the courthouse. Could you please get with somebody up there and let's see if we can get it in our names or give it to somebody or just do something with the building?
I will do that. I will do that. There is a clause in
I just hate to see
there.
that building. There's grass growing up in the parking lot. And I guarantee you, if we let it sit there another year, that something's gonna happen in that building, then we're just gonna have a building. But please do something with the building, whether we give it to somebody, whether we use it for mental health. As a matter of fact, the mental health people over in the Grove issue were still interested in it. The thing about it was, what they told me was the sprinkler system, but it looked to me like we could come together and negotiate something to work it out. Right now, it's just been used as storage.
The ball was in their court to give us a plan on what they wanted to do. I've contacted him a few times.
Oh, you have?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I have not received that report yet for, with the sprinkler system, the fire alarms and everything else that had to be done to meet code for them. But I'll try to contact him again. I will also get with the mayor, but there is a clause in there that stated once it is, well, you know what the clause states.
I've seen it, I've seen the clause.
Okay.
And I was just surprised that the mayor told me the other day, said, no, we checked our attorney, he said it belongs to Cherokee Nation. I said, well,
It
that's what
does.
the deed says, so.
It does, as long as it's used for that purpose.
All right, well, check on it again. I
do.
just hate to see the building sit there, and I'm sure we got it insured and go up and mow the grass, and it's not serving a purpose for anyone right now.
Yes, sir, we'll do that.
All right, thank you. Thanks, sir.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes, I have a question, Ginger, on leases. You've got here that there was one agricultural lease on trust land was approved. One oil and gas lease was submitted and approved. Now, this one gas lease that was submitted and approved somebody came in and leased our gas and oil rights, is that correct?
We have a lot of oil and gas leases that we take care of on restricted property. That was probably a restricted oil and gas lease that was done. Joel, that was probably yours. Do you know the one that was reported?
It was in, back in the early 90s, the tribe was deeded several acres of mineral acreage called the Winslow Estate. This particular lease, we own a 0.16% interest in 160 acres. So if you break that down, we own like maybe a quarter of an acre of all that. So we leased out our little percentage interest, because if they don't, they're just going to lease the entire 160 out as a unitization agreement anyway. So we might as well actually get something as opposed to.
Do we get a percentage back on the royalties that they?
We will, yes, ma'am. More than likely, they won't ever do anything with it. A lot of oil and gas companies are going out and buying leases now, and hopefully at some point they will drill on it. But there's a possibility that they won't, and in 3 years we'll do a new lease with them.
Is there a collection system for this on that property?
Oh, yes, there is on all of the properties that comes through our office and is sent over to finance.
I meant a collection system to pick up the gas and oil.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant with the proceeds.
Like, we wouldn't do it. The person who the operator is, whoever purchased it from them would send the money, a check to us, is how that works.
Okay, thank you.
And a report would be given to that company, which we could request if they were in fact drilling on it, which they are not at this point in time.
Okay, and then another question I had on 18, it was about $161,469 was processed through the lockbox. What's the lockbox?
The lockbox are for trust properties, and a lot of those are for leases, like ag leases. The majority is for ag leases. The lockbox, ag leases, smoke shops, you know, everything that is processed on behalf on special lands.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
And it goes through the office, so there will be a recording of it.
Okay, I just didn't know what the lockbox was. I want a clarification. Thank you.
Yes.
I forgot to ask this question a while ago, Ginger, but we had asked, I think Councilor Shambot actually asked about a restricted property in Jay, but it had a lot of stuff sitting on it, and building on it, and Joel was going to find out if we could do anything about it.
We went up there, and yes, it is a trespass. In fact, they were having a yard sale on it when Lane went up there. And so we're in the process of doing that trespass and getting them off of there.
What, yard sale?
She thought he was there to buy stuff instead of talking.
The other question, and I think Speaker Byrd had asked for that, is the inventory on the natural resources equipment. don't know if you had anything or Joel does the research.
We're working on
Okay.
a brand new one. I know there's been one in the past, so we should have that by next council meeting for sure.
Sounds great. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Dave?
Yeah, sure. What's the, we're looking at putting a indoor heating facility there at Sequoia, and there's a concrete slab over there by the CDC, in between Sequoia High School and the CDC, and I guess we're trying to figure out on how, what do we need to do to turn that piece of land over. Cherokee Nation owns it, I guess, but what would be the process to build something on Cherokee Nation land through a special projects?
It's between CDC and Sequoia High School.
Yeah,
Is
Cherokee Nation property, I believe.
is that government land? We'll have to look at that first. Let us look at the map.
Okay. Would you? It's not the golf course slab.
It's the old bus barn, I believe it sits on
Yes.
Sequoia's 82 acres, I'm thinking.
USA and Trust?
Yeah, it'd just be, yeah, U.S. government to them. I'm
Okay,
not sure.
it would be U.S. government land, but if you'll come by, see where it is, we'll look at the map, see what we need to do.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions for Ginger? Thank you, ma'am. Take this place.
Good afternoon. Tom Elkins is unavailable today, so I'll be filling in for him. I think Environmental Programs has submitted their report, so if you have any questions, I'll do my best to try to answer that.
Any questions for environmental? Yes, ma'am.
I can't find it right now, but is the pesticides grant under environmental? Our material says we got it's like $14,000 pesticides grant. I was just curious what that is for, if it's a new grant we haven't had before. Is it, yeah, I find it now. A $45,000 pesticides grant that we got.
I'm not sure exactly if this is a new grant or an extension of an existing grant, but I can get an answer to that question and follow up with you by email.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Could you tell me on Tar Creek, was there a settlement finally on that?
There was a settlement on a portion of it. So at Tar Creek, there's multiple potentially responsible parties is what they're called. All of the corporations that operated in that area have, most of them have filed for bankruptcy, and a collection of parties called the Tar Creek Trustee Council, which includes the Cherokee Nation, about 5 other Indian tribes, the state of Oklahoma, the state of Kansas, have all entered into a trustee council to help recover funds from insurance companies typically. And so there's been a number of settlements over the years, and recently there's been a consent decree lodged against Blue Tea, which is one of the former operators at the site, and that consent decree was approved by consensus by all of the tribes and all the states that were stakeholders in that area. So it's not been finalized, but it's been lodged with the court and submitted for public comment.
So Cherokee Nation will actually receive probably a very small portion of that, is that correct?
A portion of it's going to be based pro rata amongst the tribes. So there's 2 various trustee councils. One is just the Tar Creek Trustee Council generally, and a subset of that is the Tar Creek Trustee Council Indian tribes, which includes the 5 to 7 tribes in that area. And a portion of that money will be set aside and held by the EPA. Even smaller portion will be held by the tribes individually, all of which is allocated for resource repair initiatives over the next few years. And so this is one of many settlements that's happened over the long history of that site.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Done a good job. You taking Sarah's place too?
I am too.
All right.
Sarah sends her regrets she couldn't make it. She's in D.C. with the Muskogee Creek Nation and Chief Floyd, helping brief on some of the 1947 Act discussions that they're having on the Hill today. So she sends her regrets.
Any questions? You done good. Thank you.
Rex,
Yes.
I'd like to amend the agenda to add this resolution. I passed out, it's a donation of the trail.
Have a motion. Agenda. Have a second. All in favor?
We'll do that after.
Aye. Opposed? in the agenda.
Old business, new business.
It's a resolution authorizing the placement of land in trust. That's the museum, John Ross Museum.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got it.
And then your resolution?
This is a resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation Warehouse to donate surplus manufactured house to Billie Jean Smoke. I move this approval.
You have a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Discussion. Who's this Billie Jean Smoke, Councilwoman?
He's a constituent that was going through the rehab program or replacement home or something like this. This is the old caretaker's trailer at the Saline Courthouse. CMB wanted it off there because they're doing a permanent structure there.
Okay. Yeah, there's, I was up in Jay this weekend, and I ran into an elderly couple, the Bark family, and their land is on trust property, and they're unable to get any help through a bunch of rehab, but their floor's about to fall through. And, traditional Cherokee family. And, I don't know. I wish that there was like some of these properties would be brought to the attention of other council members. The Bark family, Councilman, they're in your area.
I know some Bark.
Yeah. And I like the intent of helping a traditional councilwoman, and I'm not putting this on you.
He is full of life.
Well, as Chief Baker said, he's traditional, and so this man, is he employed with your furniture store?
Yes.
Okay. And I think, I don't know. Maybe someone else should have presented it. Maybe a conflict of sorts. That's all I have, Chairperson.
John?
Yeah, I was just gonna, kind of what David was saying, and I guess the Saline Courthouse, that's in your district?
It's not in mine. I think it's in Shambles.
And, like David, Cherokee elders, we all have that T-shirt we're gonna wear, and we should. Housing perks my big old ears up, because as all of us, I get calls. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say daily, plural calls about people needing somewhere to live, and I'm not trying to be a stickler here, Janice, that an elder's gonna get a place, but I was assuming that it was in your district, then I was gonna say, well, if it's right, if it's in your district, that makes perfect sense. And I'm, I ain't gonna fight anything here, but all the housing problems, did this go through the surplus thing? I'm trying like the devil to get one of my community buildings a stove, and man, I've made lots of calls. Did this go through the surplus process like the others?
I had been working with the Smoke family trying to get suitable housing for them, and when finally the improvements on the Saline Courthouse came up, no, it didn't go through the surplus. CMB said, we want this moved, we want it moved ASAP, and I'm just trying to help out.
Right, I know you are, but did anyone else get a CMB, contact them about having a mobile home? That'd be just my only question. But like I say, full-blood elder, pretty close by. I appreciate the intent. But if there's any more, by golly, of these laying around somewhere, I'm sure everybody would like to hear about it. And so, thank you for your time there.
Hey, Councilman, in the past, these have went through E&F, through Lacey Horn? Why are we going through this route?
Trying to get these people in suitable housing before the holidays. We do it today, we can take it to council tonight.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is in the past, this goes through E&F. Like, why are we going through natural resources? You trying to expedite the process?
I'm trying to get it on tonight's council meeting, so that we can get them in some suitable housing. I mean, when you're looking for a home, you know, you want a roof over your head as soon as possible.
I understand. You know, I mean, you know, it doesn't help matters with your husband being a CMB board member, and you might get first dibs on these type of things.
I can assure you it had nothing to do with the CMB board. It came down in this room when we were notified that the Sling Courthouse was finally getting some attention. So he didn't even know about it until after the fact, but that's neither here nor there. And if you don't want to vote for it, that's fine, David.
It's not about that. It's about getting fair treatment to every council member in this room to have access to that surplus and going through the right channels through E&F. And I mean, anyways, neither here nor there. That's all I have, Chairman.
Yes, sir. I just want to address the family, David, that you talked about. You know, when we got into discussions in budget, I didn't have any money left. Sean didn't have any money left. There were several others. EO would help me out, but we do have those housing accessibility funds that help in those situations for elders, disabled, and handicapped, where when we run into a brick wall or something, I just wanted to remind you of that maybe you can go back and talk with them and something. You know, I've had to do a few of them that we didn't get everything that they needed exactly done, but it can be a way to help. So that was just ringing through my head. And you may have already thought of that, you know, but
is that accessible on trust property?
It should be. I mean, it's supposed to be pretty much no strings attached, from the way I understand it. And, you know, if they're elderly, handicapped, or disabled, and they're not a monstrous amount over the limit of the scale, you know, if they're somewhere, then that way that we can come back and help serve them. I don't think it has anything to do, and I may be wrong on the trust part, but
you're absolutely right.
Yep. Okay.
That's part of what this whole program was for, is if they're denied or something beyond their control, which if their trust land isn't in their name or whatever, then that'd be the perfect way to fix it.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking.
There's Shamball's constituents, so
okay.
we might get.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I was going to say if you need help, because other council people have stepped up and helped me, and I'd be willing to do whatever. And I still go back and say thanks to Sean and the work group and everybody that put that together for instances like this. And also want to be mindful that, you know, I know we have constituents in our area and stuff, but you know, coming up, times are tough, and for folks out there, and we want to fight for all of them. I think it's a good thing of what Janice has done, and I just would say, you know what, certain things can become divisive if we don't watch out, you know, and just kind of be mindful of that. I understand where everybody else is coming from, because I got folks that I'd like to have a trailer for as well, but also want to be mindful of, you know, that there's struggles out there that we currently don't even know about, you know, that are coming tomorrow. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I do want that to go to council tonight.
Okay.
What about the other one? Does it need to go? The John Ross?
John Ross need to go, council?
It's not urgent, you know. If I said it, then I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. It's been out of trust for a long time. The only thing I would say to you guys is, as we start bringing certain resolutions to certain committees, try to follow that format. We do make exceptions, and we made an exception here, but try to follow it as close as you can to the format, because that's why you have committees, and that's why you have chair people of committees. I mean, communicate. You know, that's all I'm saying, is communicate with each other. There's where we get into a little bit of divisiveness, is when we don't communicate with each other.
True.
That's all I have to say, Mr. Chair.
Announcements. need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
20 minutes.